Lynn, do you play this in the room too? Do you play this in Pal Talk?
Yep,
I might have to go on my phone and I want to listen. Okay.
yep. It's in Pal
Right.
Talk right now. So
On
come on
both.
in. All right. Dove and Myrna, good morning. This mic is all yours.
Good morning, Lynn. Good morning, Dove. Good
Good
morning, Regis. Good
morning.
morning,
How are
Sharon.
you this morning?
Mhm. Good morning. How are you?
Really good. Really good.
Good. Good. I like to hear that. I always say that too. People say, "How are you feeling?" And I always say, "I'm feeling great." It just comes out automatically. It's become a habit. So I'm
Yeah.
happy about that.
It's a cover-up euphemism for, I don't know. Happy says, I know.
Yep, oh, there he is. There is
Happy
Happy.
says, I
I like
know.
animals. Yeah, I
He
have
says,
to
I want to get
address.
in the act. I want to get in the act.
It's God morning.
Yeah, it is. Lynn, you were talking about cats, and I have to tell you the cat story here. When I bought my house, apparently the people before me were feeding these feral cats, and there were five of them now. And when I moved out, the neighbor across the street was worried about these cats. They were just left there to fend for themselves, five feral cats, and they were reproducing. That's why there were five of them. So I guess in conjunction with one of these organizations, the ASPCA or some humane organization, they devised a plan. They trapped the cats, okay, in cages. The cages were lent to these neighbors, captured the cats, neutered them, and I guess what do you call it when you can track them? Put tracking devices inside of the cats. And but the deal that they had to make was that if they're going to do this, then they have to allow the cats to come back to them, to come back into the neighborhood. So for since 2015, yeah, we see these feral cats. They live around her house. They don't come into her house. They're wild cats, but she feeds them. And the funny thing is, when I had my little 8-pound dog, he was very, very okay with the cats. He never chased them, he never barked at them, and they got used to him. And it was really so funny because she used to put water and food in this little alcove, with bushes around it. And for some reason, my dog only wanted to drink the cat's water. I don't know why, but the dog would go out and have to drink the cat's water, and he'd go into that little alcove, and then you would see five cats dispersing, running away, and he would be in there slapping up their water. And I used to make a joke of it. I used to say, well, the water bill is so high in my house, I can't afford to give my dog water, so he has to drink the cat's water. Yeah, that would be the joke.
That's
Anyway,
very
so I like to
cute.
hear cat stories. Yeah, so we have little feral cats running around, but they're not going to reproduce. So anyway.
We have that very same thing, and we do that. We
Uh-huh.
have the cages. We'll catch the cats, trap them, take them up, and get them fixed. And then, yeah, they
Oh,
come back
God.
here and live in the neighborhood. And then, let's see here.
No.
They come back here and they live in the neighborhood, and then we feed them. So we have a whole corner of our house that's like all cat food and, this, that, and the other thing. And if they get sick or hurt, we take them to the vet. I mean, we're
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
crazy. I mean, we spend, probably a couple $100 a month on these feral cats, but it's because Sandy, my partner, is just a cat person. So what can I say? I don't
Yeah.
like cats, but
Yeah, just
anyway,
I
let
just
you
have to
have the
get
mic
one
back.
more thing. When you said it cost $200 a month, I remember Johnny Carson when he was going through this divorce. He would always make these jokes about his divorce. The divorce, the impending divorce, and he would say, "My cat's lawyer called today, and he wants $1,200 a month for tender vittles." That was funny.
That's pretty funny. Yep. Not, yeah, that's probably likely too. So anyway, I'll let you have your room back.
Anyway, here we are. Let's stick to the subject. So, where are you, Dove, my friend?
I think we lost Dove. He had a phone call. I muted him,
Oh,
but now
okay.
he's But he's probably, hopefully they didn't shut off his electricity. He said that they were shutting off his electricity for 2 hours. So you may need to recruit some folks to talk to you, Myrna.
Oh, good. Okay, let's do, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe he got bored with our cat conversations, perhaps. I don't know.
I doubt that very
Father said,
seriously.
forget this. This is not up my alley. Yeah. Well, we miss you, Doug. Well,
Okay, well, he'll be back.
all right. Well, what do we talk about? The lessons. That's what we always leap off of when we start our meeting, and then we see where it goes. I never know where it's going to go. So I always ask Jesus to just tell me what to say, and I've come to rely on him completely. I don't even prepare what I'm going to say. I just know somehow that Jesus is here with me and will guide me. So we're going to talk about lesson 128, which is today's lesson. I always read the lesson for the day, that I do. And the title itself, The World I See Holds Nothing That I Want. And I always like to just speak from the title, because the title of each lesson gives me all I need to know. The world holds nothing that I want. And what do I want from the world? I want things. I want material things from the world. I want love from the world. I want recognition from the world. I want agreement from the world. That's what I want from the world. And I've learned that the world isn't going to give me any of those benefits that the ego tells me that they are. And so I realized that I really don't want any of that. I just want to feel at peace. I just want to feel God's love. And I want to just thrive in all that I'm given to feel. And it has nothing to do with what the world can offer me in their trinkets, in the world's little, devices that lure me for the moment and then just drop me like a hot potato. And I mean that when I say that it drops me, in that it doesn't give me lasting pleasure. None of that will give me lasting pleasure. Of course, I realize that. So while I can play with it for a while, because it's in my thought system that I wanted all of these things that I think I wanted, and yet learned that they're not going to give me lasting pleasure. They're not going to offer me love. They're not going to give me anything that I can feel that is lasting. And love is really supposed to be lasting. But if we look at the ego's ideas of what love is, it really isn't love at all. The ego doesn't really tell us, it's a very big word in the ego's dictionary, but it isn't a word, and so it is really, it's a word, it's love. I love you. I love you because you love me. I love you because you are nice to me. I love you because you give me the things I want, things I think I need. But that disappears as soon as those things disappear, as soon as the person that's offering us what we think we are, that's making us feel love, is no longer available. So we don't love anymore. So love can't be counted on. And when it can't be counted on, it has to produce fear. Because if we're not sure that we're loved, of course that's fearful. Everybody wants love. This is what we speak about. And God speaks about love. God uses that word, and it's not just a word in God's dictionary. It's the whole concept of God itself, the God in us, what God is. I mean, God is love. So once we start to explore that and realize that that is what's giving me peace, that is what I'm connecting to, because it's always there, it's always available. And the availability is wonderful to rely on, because even when we make mistakes, even when we think we sinned, even when we chastise ourselves for past mistakes, they're not lasting. God is always available with love no matter what. And that is something to rely on, and something that we come to know because we experience that. I've experienced myself as a past person that no longer exists. I think I buried that person a long time ago, a person that really always felt guilty by the way I treated people. And not that I was bad to people. It's not in my sight. It's not in my being or my heart to be mean, but I would react in ways without thinking and say things that were not always things that I should say, because it was hurtful. And when I hurt somebody, and then I would feel guilty. And this is what was ongoing with me. But that person doesn't exist anymore, because I don't need to know that. I don't have, I know that God has forgiven me. God has forgiven me for the things I said, or the things I think I did. The Course tells us we never did those things anyway. And I guess not, because if they're past, then they're illusions. And if they're illusions, they're not real. So anything that isn't real is not of God. So that's how I now perceive the dream, that if it's an illusion because it no longer exists, then it's not a reality. And so this has really guided me through the many years that I studied the Course, and came to know it very well, and came to love the entity of A Course in Miracles, not the book itself, but what came out of it. What came out of the Course in Miracles for me was the love of the Course's author, Jesus. And I came to know Jesus, connect with Jesus, realizing that this is truth to me, and loving him, loving the feeling that he loves me too. So if anybody has anything to say, I certainly welcome that. Guess not. Nobody, Dove, there you are. I thought I lost you. You have to unmute. Unmute, Dove.
I'm sorry I haven't been listening to you. I thought you were talking to Lynn. I mean, you and Lynn were talking, and I got a call from John Mundy. I had to take the call because it was kind of important. So I got off, and then I got into a conversation with Nathan Curry, who is a friend here of the Kale, and he's going to be our guest teacher tonight. And he wanted to send me an audio, which he says is about 8-10 minutes long, on what tonight's going to be about, so that we can be focused. He's making a movie, an animated movie, using Course in Miracles core teachings, and I invited him to come share it tonight. At first he said, because I told him we have a radio station and we're on YouTube. So he said, do you do interviews? So I thought he was going to interview me. I said, sure. So he was talking about interviewing him. Anyway, he's coming tonight at 7:00, and he did send me the 10-minute thing. If it's okay with you, could I play his 10-minute thing so I understand? Because I'm leaving right after this call.
Please play it.
All
Absolutely.
right, so everybody will be able to hear it. Let me see if I can play it so everyone can hear it. Hold on.
Biology with Richard Dawkins, and my focus, a series of shifts led me to Los Angeles, where I met Tara Singh at the age of 18, and I was profoundly impressed by what he was saying. And it was a long process of 30 years where I had to disassociate from my scientific background to see into the depths of the wisdom that he was saying. And when I was about 26, I spent off and on a few years with him studying the course. He said that Krishnamurti had taken him aside and guided him to make money so that he could tell the rest of the world to go to hell. And out of that journey, he made the money through contact with the Dalai Lama's associates, his teachers, and so forth, and his contact with Eleanor Roosevelt and Prime Ministers Nehru and Indira Gandhi. And then he went back to Krishnamurti, and Krishnamurti told him to focus on yoga. And my path was a little different in that he told me to make the money. Then a series of visions took me to India, and I studied the Yoga Sutras with Krishnamurti and Tara Singh's yoga teacher, Desikachar, for about 8 years. And I built a business there, which I built 2 businesses, which had different degrees of success. And then towards the end of that journey in Chennai, living in India for a span of about 8 years, I went to Tibet. And while I was in Tibet, a little dog came running toward me from about a mile away, a puppy. And I was swimming in Lake Manasarova, which is next to Lake Mount Kailash, which is said to be the home of the Buddha and Shiva and etc. in terms of the mythology. And while I was coming out of the water, this puppy ran towards me, and I realized there was potential for an animation, a story told about a teacher and a student, because there's been so much humor that can be drawn from the path to enlightenment. And so I started out on a journey to create a brand, an animation brand, which has become known as Bodhisutra, which is developing in the background. And then I tried to become a monk in the Carthusian tradition, and that didn't fit. There was too much dogma. And of course, I was studying the Course in Miracles all the way through. And the monks, when I just spent a week with them, the oldest order in the Christian monastic tradition, I went off to, they said, get married, and I went off to California and met a woman. This is all taking space over 3 decades, and she and I got engaged to be married. And I went to Mexico for the visa, to sit out the visa process, and for 9 months. And while I was there, I went for a swim, and the name Sutra Novum came to me, which is basically, the idea is that, the teachings of the Course in Miracles are in a Christian language, so they're really generally only going to speak to people that are open to that language. And although I can't fault any of its wisdom, it's really one of the greatest blessings to mankind. I then was swimming, and this word Sutra Novum came. And so, because the animation is quite a complex thing to develop, I realized that the Sutra Novum was the mother brand, and I based it on the School of Life in London, which is a worldwide brand about emotional intelligence, but they don't deal with the deeper stuff that the Course deals with, or the Ramana Maharshi or the Yoga Sutras deals with. So I built that, and now we're developing books, and it's a publishing company, and also a clothes company, all around the themes that, these great teachings talk about. What I try to avoid is words like the Holy Spirit and God. I replace them, like Krishnamurti used the word intelligence, which means to read between the lines. And so that's exactly what the Holy Spirit is. It's just this capacity to read between the lines, which is your higher self listening in. And then, Ramana said that the self is God, the soul, and what the Course in Miracles, we say the God, the Son, and the Holy Spirit are all the same thing. It's the self. And it merges in that sense of oneness. So that's what I'm doing. And, we've got 3 authors signed, and we are developing this vision. And Sutra Novum means the thread of new meaning. So, and it's also a combination of sutra, which one would associate with the Eastern wisdom, and novum, which is Latin. So it's Sanskrit and Latin. And it's like this idea where it's sort of inspired by the quote by Joseph Campbell that said, apocalypse does not point to, it means to uncover apocalypse. So it does not point to a fiery Armageddon, but the ending of our complacency and ignorance, which is what the Course in Miracles is all about. So I wanted to create a brand that's inspired by the ideas in the Course in Miracles, because that's profoundly influenced me, but that can speak to an audience which may be drawn to Buddhism or Advaita Vedanta or just humanism without any belief system in a God. And so that's what's happening. And then the animation is also developing in the background. And it's a business, but it's also a foundational charity. And life has just kept me inspired to do it. And in terms of the story of the animation, it's about a scientist in a parallel universe who spills his whiskey on a console of a spaceship which is orbiting near to at the end of a day, near to a wormhole. And then his student and the student's wife, they're both students of him, and him, they're in a sort of fictional device, their minds, like quantum entanglement, get swapped with two monkeys and a dog in our world. And the monkeys are sort of a play on the Darwinian monkey image. And in the process, you know, he's quite a wise person anyway. As a scientist, he gets enlightened, and when he arrives in the body of the dog, his mind is enlightened. There's something about the journey that knocks him across that threshold, or as close to it as possible. And then the monkey is sort of based on George Carlin and Mullen Nasruddin, these great characters of humor about like taking the piss out of like the hypocrisies of the religious world and of the secular world, the human world, and the problems that they have with husband and wife and donkeys and all of this, you know, just this story that I brought into, I realized there was so much power in the fool, the holy fool. And so that way I have developed these characters, and they arrive in San Diego, and, you know, two of the monkeys escape the zoo. And then there's a guy whose father is a developer of, he's quite a wealthy man because he's developed a biodegradable plastic. And so it brings in all these themes to look at like saving the planet, but then really the saving the planet is just a ruse for like looking at like the greenwashing and looking at the insecurity that is associated with this sense of like nature being holy. You know, it's no more holy than anything else. I mean, everything is nature at the level of form. So it's like it's a vehicle to look at all the new age false gods, and it's a vehicle to look at all the conservation false gods and the wisdom also of the Greeks, where, you know, their understanding of ecology, but through a story that's based in humor. And so Bodhi is able to take the piss out of humanity, you know, all the insanity that we've created. And that was inspired by a man I met in Ecuador years ago when I was 18, who said, you know, if aliens were to visit our planet, they would think that Coca-Cola, because it was on all the little, you know, houses in the street in the Andean villages, meant welcome. And so the monkey is both a device to look at our absurdities as humans, and he's also sort of a human, and he's trying to, so his judgment and calling out of our hypocrisies is one level, and then, you know, Norman the dog always corrects Bodhi and brings him back to a miracle mindset. So it's like taking the wisdom of the Course and applying it in a language that is free of the Christian weight, which of course is harmless for those that can see beyond it, and helpful, and a bar to those that can't. So that's the introduction that I promised.
Okay, I guess that's it. I just thanked him for sending it. I invited him if he wanted to come here just now, but apparently not. But on the other hand, thanks so much, Myrna, for allowing me to play this, because I wanted to get a kind of an idea of what Nathan's about, because I just met him quite by accident kind of thing. And I don't know why, but well, I guess I do know. I think I said, he said, "Do you do interviews?" I said, "Sure." And he was talking about interviewing him. Anyway, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts about anything you just heard?
I get that he is very deep. He has studied the Course in Miracles, among other teachings, and I guess he applies it to the way he feels. I mean, there's really not much I really truly understood. I really didn't understand very much about what he was saying, but maybe interviewing him would be a good thing, because maybe he can explain himself more. In 10 minutes, a 10-minute video, there's really not very much that you can get from it, because there's nothing you can ask. There's nothing, you can't really intercede or intercept because you're listening to a video. But I see on the um, that he worked with Tara Singh, got involved in the Course in Miracles. So Mikhail is familiar with him.
Yeah. So I like his humor. I mean, he brings in George Carlin. That's got to be funny. And I thought that the basis for his movie about saving the planet is kind of very unlike A Course in Miracles. A Course in Miracles is certainly not about saving the planet. So there's a little diversion there. I mean, he seems to inject humor into the movie, which is really great. The latest thing that I'm bringing to the table is what I heard Ken Wapnick talking this morning. He said, Jesus said to Helen, "If you find yourself in a desert, leave. Don't try and fix it." Now, the funniest thing is it happened on the same day as today's lesson, which is lesson 128, which is there's nothing in this world I want. And I heard it being played this morning. I listened to the whole lesson, and I realized that that's perfect for if you find yourself in a desert, leave. Don't try and fix it. Don't try and save it. There's nothing here. If you're doing the course, of course he's telling you there's nothing here. There is no world. And of course, the ego said, "Well, no, I can fix it up. I'm gonna try one more $2 lottery ticket. Maybe I'll hit the jackpot." So the ego was always hoping for the future to be better. There's no future. There's no time. There's no nothing. You got to laugh. With that, I'll turn the mic back on over to you, Myrna.
Can I just jump in here really quickly? I think one of the things here that is the point of what he's doing, he's making an animated movie based on the principles of A Course in Miracles, but he's using the events of the world and also bringing in other spiritual philosophies. So he's got the reincarnation and these animals that have the soul or whatever of these beings, but he's using it all to illustrate, as far as I can tell, principles of the course. So but it sounds like it's in a very early stage. It doesn't sound like they really have anything, even a script. It doesn't sound like. So it'll be interesting to talk to him tonight about it. And maybe he's looking for someone who can help him. And maybe there's someone in our area, in our group somewhere, that knows about how to do that kind of stuff. Who knows? Anyway, I'll give the mic back to you, Myrna.
That's Thank you so much for injecting that. Thank you. And Mikhail,
Yeah.
you want to share something here? Of course, you seem to know him, and I just met him. So if you want to say something, please do. Myrna? Yes, go ahead.
Oh, I've known Nathan for quite some time because we had the same teacher, Mr. Tara Singh, and I would have to say that whatever Taraji told him when he told him you need to go out and make some money. And Nathan really took it to heart, and he, you know, uh, likes the teachings of Ramana Maharshi, and he's done quite a bit of travel in this world. He's from the UK originally, so yeah, he's done quite a bit of travel. But part of the reason that Krishnamurti told Tara Singh to go out and make some money is that uh, when you are going to go into quiet, as Taraji did prior to him meeting Dr. Helen Schuckman, uh, you he have to have a way to have some means, and life does provide for your needs, and it did provided for his needs, but he had the resources to be able to go. He was 3 years in silence where he didn't talk to anybody, and it was at that time that he was walking on the beach in Carmel, and he has a tape from it, and the voice said to him, keep the bowl empty, which is your mind. And so it's basically just the principles of the course is it's the undoing, the raucous shrieking of the ego thoughts, keep the bowl empty. That's really what that means. But yeah, I mean, Tara Singh, he was in contact with the teacher of the Dalai Lama that taught the Dalai Lama. That's who also Taraji was in contact, and with others. Life brings you into contact with that. And so that's how I kind of met Nathan. And he's, I don't know much about the animated movie, but it sounds phenomenal. Kind of like we have the children's group on Saturdays where we go with Devin over it. And, I think it's kind of how the world it's evolving. It's evolving into the principles of the Course in Miracles is evolving into different means on this illusionary world. And so I think Nathan's trying to bring that together. And sometimes, like when you create a movie, it can take 10 years before that movie comes out on film. So I don't know where he's at in the process, but he's trying to grasp pieces to put together. But he's definitely tried to follow the footsteps of like living the life of a monk and all that. And then they told him to get married, which he did. And so um, he's got a lot of good qualities. So yeah, thank you.
Much, Mikhail, for sharing that, because that certainly sheds a lot of light on something that seemed to be nothing that we really know about, but you really filled in a lot. Thank you so much. Myrna, did you want to share? And Regis, I see you smiling. Do you want to share?
Go ahead, Regis, you have anything to say about that? Reg, are you there?
Yes, no, I don't have any comments on that.
Yeah. It's hard to comment on that. Perhaps when we meet him tonight, I'm glad we're going to meet him tonight. We get a better sense of what the movie is about, or the message he's trying to convey.
Yeah.
So
I did put his website in the chat, which is www.sutranovum.com, and then / what we do. And that gives you some insight into the man we know is Nathan Curry, who will be our guest tonight. All right. I'm kind of like, I did that Sunday with John on Ken Wapnick's quotes, and I did Monday on the same quotes, and I noticed that I really, instead of just seeing these quotes on paper, I started living them, and I somehow get a whole new dynamic energy in me that seems to come from just the idea that when as Ken says, listen, if you're either listening to the teacher of seriousness, or you're listening to the teacher of gentle laughter, which I know that Lynn picked up on the light of laughing flowers. And as you take things less seriously, your mind gets unhooked from the gravity of this particular world. In fact, I think that's the message in lesson 128. There's nothing in this world I want. And Jesus says, try it. He says, try letting go of the things of this world. Just try letting them go. And, it's kind of like, relax your mind, release your thoughts and let go. Very much like Rafi is always saying, can you let go a little bit more, And I think I heard, somewhere, whether it was in today's lesson, as you let go, you rise above the world into a new place, and that's certainly true. And of what I call the three sister lessons, 128, which is there's nothing in this world I want. 129, beyond this world, there is a world I want. And 130, it's impossible to see two different worlds. You can't be in both worlds at the same time. Now, I always thought that 130 was the most powerful. I thought 129 was okay. I never thought too much of 128. And now I realize there's no accident this all happened today, because I realized that 128 is all about, if you find yourself in a desert, leave. And I always thought they were talking about the desert of this world. And I realized, no, he's talking about your mind. Your mind is a desert. Your mind is a desert. You got to laugh. Kairos, I see your hand is up. You might be on mute.
You're muted, Kiros. You're muted.
Regis, yeah.
Kairos, did you want to speak? Maybe he hit it by accident. I'm not sure.
No, he's unmuted, but
All right. There's no problem to that. Myrna, did you want to share anything?
Well, you mentioned 128, 129, and 130, and I was going to read from my book, lesson 128. Now I'm looking at 130. This is Private Lessons with Jesus from A Course in Miracles. We just put that up on the screen. Let me read 130. I don't know what it says because I haven't gotten to it yet, but well, recently, I haven't reached that lesson yet. It's 2 days from now, but I'm going to read it because the title is, "It is impossible to see two worlds." The first is 128. Yes, the world I see holds nothing that I want. 129, beyond this world, there is a world I want, which I get that as well. Yes, there is a world I want beyond this world, because the Course in Miracles, if anything, has taught me that. And 130, it is impossible to see two worlds. So from Private Lessons with Jesus, it is impossible to see two worlds when only one is real. So isn't it wise to recognize the world that truly exists? The real world is the only one you want. When you try to live in two worlds, one which is not real, it obscures the other, which is your true home. That is why you cannot live in both places peacefully. The real world, which is of God, is the one that protects you from all imagined harm. Living in both worlds cannot hurt you in truth, because you are always protected under the sanctity of God's love, no matter where you think you are. If you focus on the real world, which is your birthplace, then you see ever more clearly that the home you made, which is the ego's birthplace, cannot coexist. When you decide on the real world, it becomes your haven. In this world, all is forgiven, excuse me, all is forgiven, everything remains as it was before time existed, and all goodness is showered upon you because you have chosen to be where God's love is found. Remaining in the real world takes practice and determination. The ego's world beckons you with dreams of plenty. Then it sours you with disappointment and fearful dreams. Always remain kind and forgiving to others, no matter what you think the cost is to you. The ego tells you the cost of forgiveness brings pain, but in truth, the cost is but the exchange for your everlasting peace. So yeah, this is a very powerful lesson because which world do we want? How do we want to live? Do we want to live with the ego's promises, and really never delivers what it promises? We can never rely on that. We're always fearful. We want something to happen. We pray that it happens, but if it doesn't happen according to what we want it to be, what we want the outcome to be, then we're lost. And then we're fearful, and we give up our trust. We sort of blame God for not hearing us. So learning that if we live in the other world, the world of our birthplace, the world that existed before time, the world that is free, gives us the freedom to come back to, which is what we're striving for, to going back to where we came from. We want to go home because home is always where we want to be. What could be more comforting to be at home? In The Wizard of Oz, she recites that phrase that was so famous: "There's no place like home. There's no place like home." And I think this lesson indicates that we really want to live the home, and that is what the real world is. And what do we find when we're home? We find comfort. We find God's love. We find the warmth of heaven. We find that there is no fear at all. And to dispense fear is a wonderful revelation when we can let go of fear, when fear no longer intrudes on our world, the world that we've chose, that world that ego's world. We can dispense of fear even in this world when we're reaching for a better world, a world that delivers only our good, only the best of what it wants for us, the best of what it wants for us. Regis has his hand up. I'd love to hear from you.
Good morning. Thank you, Myrna and Dove, or afternoon, depending on where you are. Yeah, as you was reading from your book, I think several times the word want in terms of the world came up, and thinking about that word that's the word that stuck out to me today, want. So, and I thought about it, and I even looked it up, and like, well, what does what does that word really mean? And it says have a desire to possess, to wish for, um, and that is so significant when you're talking about w- wanting the world or not wanting the world or wanting the real world. Um, this may sound a little over the top for a lot of people, but you know what, Myrna? I'm home a lot. I'm home a lot, and I mean real home, because the kingdom of God and what I want most of my days is peace, joy, love, righteousness. And righteousness is not mean doing right, it's in recognition of my right standing with God. I am the beloved child of God in whom he's well pleased. Is not performance based. There is no guilt. There is no place where I'm witch hunting, trying to see what I did wrong, what I said wrong, because there is no wrong. Now that scares some people because I think people think they're going to become sociopath. But all I want to do is love. If you are love, there's the ego's thought system can't frighten me into witch hunting myself and looking for what I could have done better. I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have walked forward. I should have walked backwards. You know, it's 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 such a peaceful state of being. And as you was reading about wanting the real world versus the world that really not real and don't exist, I realize what I want most are intangible. You know, this place of that you described as such a place of comfort and joy and fulfillment is not physical. You know, we talk about heaven, we talk about the real world versus the non-real world, but we're not talking about a physical place. We're not talking about when I open my eyes, I don't see the TV, I don't see the computer, I don't see the walls at my house, I don't see the streets in the neighborhoods and on the highways. But it's just, what is my desire? What do I wish for? And I think, you know, for you, even for yourself, Myrna, when we sit back and we observe, what do I wish for? What do I desire most of the time? Is peace, is beauty. It's, you know, that's why we dress and we look good and it's just a desire. We wish and we desire for beauty, for everything that God is, which is beauty, which is love, which is peace, which is happiness, which is oneness. We want to join. We don't want to sit here. That's beautiful part about ACIM gather is that we don't gather to point out differences. We gather, and everybody that comes on the mic and has something to say, they're not trying to say something opposite or in contrast to what the last person said, but everybody's trying to relate. Everybody's trying to join. And that's a wish and a desire for the real world, which is oneness, which is God. I am that I am. So, but your reading just brought all that to my mind about when we hear people talking about wanting the real world, and I think sometimes that the thought system that we're so accustomed to and so habitually think with still kind of feels like that's a place. Still kind of want to make that a place or want to make that a place where we care nothing about the house we live in or the car we drive or the bodies that's walking around. But it's really just an internal place that we can go any moment, any second of the day in that place of peace and love and oneness that is within, that is the true essence of who we are. Thanks.
Yeah, I love that, Regis, what you said, because you talk about peace and you exude that peace. I feel that peace in you. I'm not saying you don't have ego moments. We all do. We all want, yes, we want. And it's not wrong to want and to attain. It's just wrong, or nothing is right or wrong. I shouldn't use the word wrong, but it's not peaceful to expect to find peace really in the material world, because you don't find it at all. And if anything has, you know, I've been watching I was binge watching The Crown. You know, The Crown, such an interesting institution. I just started watching it for the first time. Unfortunately, there's not going to be another, another series after this. That's it. But it really does show you that material things absolutely do not bring happiness. Look at all the discord that has come out of all these, you know, all the, you would think the glamour and the style and the money and, complete, absolute, total wealth would solve problems, but nothing really does. And everybody wants to feel peace. We're just very fortunate in that we've learned how to attain it. And it does take practice. It does take a great deal of determination to want to be peaceful and to attain lasting peace. And some of us never learn that lasting peace is not going to be found in, the day-to-day objects that we look for, that we want. Want, you're right. Want is a word that comes up. It's about living it. It's about being. It's about being. That's what it is. The Course in Miracles is really all about learning to be. You don't have to remember anything. If anything, I think it stresses to teach us to just learn to be. How will we, what, to be who we truly are, the creations that we're made of love. That's what our creation is. We're love. We created from that amazing aspect of all that is God. So I give it to you, Dove, and tell me what you think.
Well, thanks for that, Myrna. And I was listening to Regis, and I like what you say, Regis. We all get together here to support each other. Certainly, to see each other as we're sharing the same interests, the same goal, the same purpose. Certainly not to judge each other, which so many other groups do seem to have. I mean, ACM Gather's come a long way since the early days. I'm very happy that that Lynn has put together a really great group. After listening to your reading, Myrna, and thanks for reading it. And by the way, I have a book too, which picture of that book, Regis, please do. It's called The Open Mind, Loving Yourself. And it's actually identical to Into Oneness, which is my first book. I only put this book out because the first book, Amazon puts it out at like $20, and a softcover book should never be $20. So I found the publisher, Suzanne. She used to be here as a teacher, and she has a publishing company. So we published a new book, same book, just a different title and different cover, and it's only $14, which is really the right price for a paperback issue. I was inspired to read from today's lesson 128, starting with paragraph 5, which is what I was listening to this morning when Prudence was playing it. This is what it says. Today we practice letting go of all thoughts of values that we have given to the world. It's a letting go process, giving values to the world. By the time you get to lesson 133, he's telling you you're valuing the valueless, that anything that begins in time and ends in time has no value to you, the eternal. Goes on to say, we leave it free of the purposes that we gave it. We gave its aspects and its phases and its dreams. So we've given purpose to really nothing. I mean, we've given purpose to the seriousness of the ego thought system, thinking that it means something. Well, let's save the planet. There's nothing here to save. You don't want to save anything here. You find yourself in a desert, leave. And we're not talking about the world. We're talking about our mind that believes with a big lie in this world. It says we hold it purposeless within our minds, without purpose within our minds, and loosen it from all that we wish it were. That's a goodie. Yeah, I wish the world was a better world. I wish people were friendlier. I wish there was more love. I wish. Isn't it something like Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz? Remember, she had 2 red slippers. She could have clicked them and gone home at any time, but she just thought maybe there was more down that yellow brick road. Thus do we lift the chains that bar the door to freedom from the world and go beyond all the little values and the diminished goals. Paragraph 6, pause, be still a little while, and see how far you can rise above the world. This is the part I heard. It's a letting go process. That's why lesson 25 for me, I do not know what anything is for. Unhooks you from the gravity, the gravitas of this world. When you release your mind from chains, this is Jesus talking. When you release your mind from chains and let it seek the level where it finds itself at home. So only we are hooked to the chains. Only we can unhook. It will be grateful to be free a while. It knows where it belongs, but you have to free its wings, and it will fly in sureness and joy to join its holy purpose. Let it rest in its creator, like I rest in God. And yesterday I did a thing on Stephanie and Lloyd's, and we went around the room asking people what their favorite lesson was. More people said lesson 109, I rest in God, than any other lesson. It was really amazing. And I rest in God sitting on my bedroom wall, thanks to Shalandra. I mispronounced her name, sorry. Rest, we let it rest in its creator, there to be restored to sanity, to freedom, and to love. And that's paragraphs 5 and 6 in lesson 128. And I see it's that time. And hi, Rev. Someone said to me, I've never seen your picture. I said, well, he uses a photo. So one day you got to come on live so we can see your picture.
So I want to ask you, Dove, is your birthday on Sunday? Is it the 12th?
Yeah,
That's Mother's Day. You're sharing Mother's Day with me.
I was born on Mother's Day.
Are you what? Really? Look at that. History repeats itself.
May 12th, 1940.
Mhm.
Every 12 years, it shifts back. I'm the seventh 12-year thing. So 7 times 12 was 84. I was born in the year of the dragon. It's still the year of the dragon. Everything repeats. Every 12 years, everything repeats. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm wishing you in advance a very happy birthday.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And lesson 133, it happens to be on May 12th.
Mhm.
That is one of the most powerful lessons, because Jesus himself says sometimes it's good to have a very practical lesson, and this is a very practical lesson. So after some highfalutin lessons, you get something very practical, like, what do you value? If it's something of time, you're valuing something that has no value whatsoever. And I find that to be incredibly practical.
This is what this whole lesson today was all about. Just what you just said. You just wrapped it up, the whole thing.
Notice he says 128, 129, 130, 131 happens to be truth will correct all the errors of my mind, or something like that. And 132, I loose the world from all that I thought it was. And then he says there is no world, paragraph 6. So if you don't listen to him say there is no world, you still want to save the world.
Yeah.
Save what?
That's a conundrum. There you go. All right. Thank you so much, Dove and Myrna. Wonderful session. And I'm looking forward to tonight with Nathan. I think that's going to be quite interesting. And who knows, maybe he came to us for help, and maybe there's someone in this group that can help him. And maybe I mean, who knows? We don't know what anything is for. So once again, thank you so much, Dove.